I am going to call upon the venue that will be assisting us with health and safety briefing. So over to the venue. Who will be playing the health and safety video? Can you kindly please play the health and safety video?
Your safety is important to us. The Piedmont Group is committed to the safety of its guests and employees and asks you to please take note of the following safety information regarding evacuation procedures at this resort in the event of an emergency. Any emergencies will be handled by our emergency control team, supported by the SSF Emergency Services. In the event of a fire or any other emergency, the resort emergency controller will give an instruction to evacuate. Please locate the nearest emergency exit to you and exit in a calm and orderly fashion. Please remain calm at all times. Once outside the building, please make your way to the assembly point or otherwise directed to by our staff and remain there. Please adhere to any further instructions which may be given over the evacuation system. Do not come back into the building until the all clear is given. If someone is missing or requires medical attention, please inform our staff so that they may be seen to. Your safety is important to us, and we appreciate your cooperation. And thank you for choosing this Piedmont Resort.
Thank you for that health and safety briefing. I am now going to call upon the Chief Director of Provincial Operations, responsible for the Department of Employment and Labour within Gauteng, Mr. Tsepo Mokomatsiri, to welcome us. They are the default host because this event is it's a national event, but it's in the Gauteng province. Over to you, Mr. Mokomatsiri.
Thank you, Program Director. The Minister of Employment and Labour, in her absence, the Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, Mr. Sibia, who is with us here, the Acting Director General in his absence, the leaders of organized business, labour, and other social partners, if they're here, the Inspector General, and other leadership from our licensees, which is FEMA, as well as RMA, and the Commissioner of the Acting Commissioner of the Unemployment Insurance Fund. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and welcome to this breakfast session, which is hosted under the theme strategic collaboration to prevent incidents and occupational diseases in the workplace. I hope you well. I said good morning, you all kept quiet. I don't know if you well. The weather is good today, it's not hot, it's just cool. As you are aware, one of the critical mandates of the Department of Employment and Labour is to prevent occupational injuries and diseases in the workplace. And we are doing this by undertaking advocacy sessions. We do educational campaigns, and also do enforcement. As you know, we have been doing inspections in a number of sectors, and one of those we're looking at issues related to occupational health and safety. And of course, when all of these things have failed, or in an unfortunate incidents where workers get injured or contract illnesses and so on, the compensation fund, together with our licenses, then come in to provide the necessary cover, be they medical or compensation. And of course, all of these things requires that we have effective and efficient systems of administration, but also that for occupational health and safety to succeed, we need all stakeholders to be on board. Mine is not to give a speech because the Deputy Minister will be doing an official opening of the session this morning, but it's just to indicate that all of you are welcome here, and we hope that as the department that this session this morning will help us to ensure that we have zero incidents at our workplaces. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mokomatsidi. We are welcomed. So the next item that we have on the agenda is the opening address. So just before the opening address, I would just like to acknowledge also the Acting Director General that is online already. He has indicated that he's joined online. The Minister will also be joining us online. This is due to a portfolio committee meeting that is starting at 9 and cabinet that Minister needs to attend to. We are now going to go to the opening address that will be done by our Deputy Minister of the Department of Employment and Labour, the Honourable Mr. N. Sibia, Member of Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. As we are gathered in this venue hosted by Gauteng by default. Program Director, let me acknowledge and greet the Minister of Employment and Labour in her absentia. As we have said, she will be joining us very soon. She has some commitments that currently she's dealing with. The Acting Director General, who's online, the Inspector General, Ms. Egi Moila. We appreciate the work that you're doing with your team, your entire team. The Chief Inspector, Ms. Ritas, we also appreciate the work that you are doing in making sure that we are afloat and doing the work that we're supposed to do. The Acting Commissioner Compensation Fund, Ms. Fakir, thank you so much. We appreciate your work as well. Chief Executive Officer, Federated Employers Mutual Assurance, Mr. Hussein. Chief Executive Officer, Rand Mutual Assurance, Mr. Shezi. We also want to acknowledge your presence and the role you are playing in the space and the sphere we are at. It's highly appreciated, and we believe we'll continue doing what we do best in this space we are currently at. The General Secretary of SAFTU, Mr. Vavi, Deputy General Secretary of FEDUSA, Mr. Benjamin, the National Health and Safety Organizer, NAPTU, Mr. Lukeleni, Director of ILO, Mr. Musindo. Thank you very much. Your presence is highly valued as well. The labor presence as well, all of them. The leadership from organized labor, we value your presence. You are part and parcel of us. Without you, there won't be us. So our relationship must always be kept and protected at all times. It can be at times shaky, but we must always manage it from time to time. It's a very important relationship. Social Policy and Transformation Coordinator of BUSA, Ms. Janchis, President of Black Business Council in the Built Environment, Mr. Masmene. Again, these are very important partners that we work with on a daily basis. It's a relationship that must always be kept. Organized labor and business. We are in partnership with all of them, and we value all of them. They are very important in this country. President of professional bodies, experts, academias, and practitioners in the occupational health and safety sector, senior officials of the Department of Employment and Labor who are here, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being part and parcel of this gathering. It was in 2002, the last time we gathered like this, where we signed this accord. By then we had almost about 68 or 60 inspectors that we had. And today, seated here, the numbers have increased. We are having a huge number of inspectors that are focusing in this space. I don't want to give wrong numbers. Numbers are very important, and politicians are known for giving wrong numbers and come back to apologize. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I give proper numbers when we leave here. No one says, but this deputy minister, why he lied? Seated here, coming from 60 inspectors today, who are seated here with 670 inspectors that we are having. We have moved because we are interested in this sector. We have increased by almost 600 more inspectors from 2002. So you can see that the focus and the work that is being done by this collective, because it's not only the department that is capable to do this alone, but it's because of the work that is done collectively. That's why I've always emphasized on the collective nature of our relationship and the alliance that we have as the collective. I'm not going to say whether it's tripartite or what kind of alliance, but we've got a serious alliance that we are having, and that must also be protected. Program Director, a safe and healthy working environment is not only a fundamental principle in the right at work, but also an essential requirement for fostering sustainable, inclusive economic growth. Such growth should be rich in productive employment and decent work for all. Despite notable progress in the legal framework and implementation thereof in the space of occupational health and safety over the years, unfortunately, workers continue to be at the receiving end of workplaces that are not adequately resourced to meaningfully curb the loss of life and injuries. And we all agree that one loss of life too many. We can't afford in the 21st century to behave and live the life of, the backwardness that we're coming from during the 18th century and the 19th century. A lot has improved, and gathered here, I think it's a commitment that we have in trying to make sure that we prevent any loss or any injury at a workplace. And if we work together, definitely we'll achieve that. And already in South Africa, we have improved quite a great deal in making sure that we foster such preventative measures, which we must continue doing, because preventing injuries and loss of life at a workplace also save the state, the state in terms of the health burden that we are having, but also it saves the compensation fund and anyone who's in that space. The money that can be used in that space to compensate those who are injured and loss of life, it can be used in some areas where we are having gaps. We know that we're a country that currently is having a huge number of unemployment and unemployed people. And one of the issues I always say whenever I get an opportunity is to just emphasize it and drill it in the mind of our people, especially the leaders in this country and in this sector, that if we don't deal with the poverty of our people, if we don't deal with the unemployment of our people, if we don't create decent jobs for our people, we'll be failing our people. And if we fail our people, we'll be sitting on a time bomb, where I can assure you the certainty that we see currently will be eroded. But again, we'll be sitting in a situation where at any given moment, we'll see what happened in 2021. And I don't think we want to go back there. But the worst part of all is that we won't be creating certainty for the future of our children. Our children will find the worst situation and circumstances that we see today. And we've got a responsibility to shape the future and make sure that those who will follow us, our children, will be in a better environment. If we are unable to shape the environment of our children and the ones who will be following us, then we'll be failing to create the South Africa that all want and the South Africa that we dream of. So we do have that responsibility, one way or the other. I want to say that I take solace from the fact that this week we have been having difficult and necessary conversations about health and safety, in particular in the construction sector. It is befitting that these engagements should precede the signing of the Prevention Accord. We put emphasis on the invaluable role we could play when we hold hands and move as one. This day would not have been possible without the support of the International Labour Organization, and we appreciate your role and the guidance and leadership, which has been part of this expedition. As a result, we were able to launch First State of Occupational Health and Safety in South Africa, which was launched in July 2021. This report highlighted a range of OHS challenges faced by our country, including enforcement challenges. Subsequent to the report, the department and the ILO worked on an OHS strategy, which was later validated by the ILO, Advisory Council for Occupational Health and Safety, social partners, professional bodies, academia, OHS practitioners, and all other role players. We are well aware that some legal and policy framework on OHS built on social dialogue and participation can enhance decent work for all workers. Successful approaches deal with the OHS needs of all groups of workers and address inequalities in OHS conditions, thereby promoting equal access to safe and healthy working environments. This strategy is meant to address poor working conditions and lack of compliance with the occupational health and safety legislation. On Monday, I was in another gathering which was almost not similar, but dealing with similar matters. We said, if you want to see how expensive is compliance, how expensive is not to comply, just don't comply, then you'll see how expensive it is. You will see how expensive it is. So I think all of us, we agree that compliance matters. Compliance is at the center of everything that we do, and we must enforce it. All of us, we do have that responsibility. It also supports the development and implementation of prevention programs. It further provides a clear plan on the direction to be followed to change the current occupational health and safety landscape within the jurisdiction of the department, and thus support decent work. Lastly, I will guide the OHS community internally within well as externally, meaning it will be internally and those who are external. Your presence here today demonstrates a willingness to take responsibility and ensure that we work together in improving OHS in the world of work in this country. Willingness is when commitment towards improved conditions is embedded deep within, and everyone is naturally motivated to improve occupational health and safety practices. It's a non-negotiable. The department works closely with industry stakeholders to host conferences and seminars, as well as develop and disseminate resources such as guidelines, posters, pictograms, and YouTube videos. As these support advocacy initiatives, which is very, very important, because if you want to prevent, whatever that you want to prevent, you must have advocacy programs. Those are the programs that will help you to make sure that everybody is aware what is happening in the space. What are the new trends? What needs to be done? And what do we need to do ourselves? So that's why we're embarking on these advocacy programs. They are very, very important for us and for all of us as the country. I want to say I urge you to continue working with us as we stay committed to supporting decent work initiatives. It's all about decent work initiatives and making sure that we prevent injuries, we prevent loss of life in the workspace, and I thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister, for setting the tone for what is to follow when we have the presentation now by the Compensation Fund and its licensees. I would just like to acknowledge the people that are online. We have, I'm not sure how many we are now, but we've made provision for 500 people to join online. There's a camera in the front, you can see there's the camera also on the side. So welcome to our online viewers or delegates that are attending online. There's a quote that says, "Collaboration divides the task and multiplies the success." So today is a success because we have collaborated, we've divided tasks amongst ourselves, which is the Department of Employment and Labour, Compensation Fund, Organized Business, Organized Labour, RMA, FEM, and everybody in this room. And that is why we are multiplying success, DM, going further. I'm going to call upon Ms. Fazana Fakir from the Compensation Fund. We will be having Ms. Fakir as well as the two CEOs from RMA and FEM. You only have 30 minutes because the Minister will be speaking at 8. You only have 30 minutes, 10 minutes each to speak on the direct and hidden costs associated with occupational injuries and diseases. Over to you, Acting Commissioner.
Good morning to the Minister and the Acting DGs online and the Deputy Minister, Inspector General, and all esteemed colleagues and guests that are here, all protocol observed. So I do have 10 minutes, and I just want to quickly touch on what our DM said in terms of decent work, etc. I think it goes back to the old adage that prevention is better than cure, right? And sometimes when it comes to occupational health, what we see with employers in the compensation fund is that we are being penny wise and pound foolish, right? So you don't want to invest in occupational health. And quickly, just to touch on the prevention also, I was very lucky when the Inspector General took me to an occupational health conference to, just introduce myself to see, because I've been acting just from 2023. And what I found there is that, as the Deputy Minister rightfully points out in terms of decent work, as a country, I feel personally we are behind in terms of occupational health. First world countries are not even, they've now passed the thing of preventing accidents. They're actually focusing on mental health of workers in terms of occupational health. And we are still struggling in terms of creating a safe workspace. And as the Deputy Minister also rightfully pointed out, in terms of it actually Hong Kong, they took the most simple blue-collar workers, decided this is a day of training, put them in, even if it's in that simple hall, and train them. And information empowers workers. And I think as employers, as unions, as all stakeholders in the room, this is our responsibility towards workers who are the backbone of this country and who contribute to the development of South Africa. So quickly, I'm going to go, because I think I already took 4 minutes. So I'm going to go to slide. I just want to go, so I think everyone is well aware of what the COID Act is and on what workers' compensation is. If you can please move to slide 6 on my presentation, please. Thank you. So on slide 6, if you look at what are the historical view of claims, and I just took the last 3 financial years, you definitely see that we have an increase in 2021, 22, 23, and then 23, 24 we have a bit of a decrease. And that bit of decrease is actually because we've started investing in occupational health. We've started paying the occupational health inspectors, and that has resulted in a decrease. Okay, thank you. So obviously, as the fund, this definitely concerns us. I mean, we're looking at around, on average, 130,000 claims a year. That's just the compensation fund alone. That's not its mutuals. Then on slides, the next slide, what we see in terms of our claims payment history. So what I can tell you is in the last 5 years, the compensation fund has paid pensions, work injuries, TTDs, and medical expenses. And for the last 5 years, it's actually averaged to around 20 billion rand, which is an average of 4 billion rands. And like the Deputy Minister rightfully points out, that money can actually go into investing in SRIs and economic transformation, where we actually invest a lot of our money into black asset managers, SRIs, where we look at, African black businesses and try to, invest in them and give them opportunities. So this money is actually quite a concern for us. It's definitely due, yes, to a rise in injuries, but also a rise in medical costs that we see. Okay. So what is our claims experience? In our claims experience, what we found for the last financial year is that, and I hope I'm on the right slide, apologies, I can't really see it from here. Okay, so this is what we've seen in our claims experience. For the last financial year, we paid 1.78 billion. That's a lot of money, right? I know everybody at the department teases us and calls us the billionaires, but this is money that is going into costs. And it's quite worrisome to see this kind of trend. And our total number of claims just in 1 year was 104,000. 44% of those claims were actually for female workers. So we're seeing a rise in terms of the injuries of females, where majority is to always be males. Then talking into the fatalities, which our Deputy Minister rightfully points out is just unacceptable, right? We actually had 51 fatal claims. That means families that don't have a breadwinner anymore. And it's actually quite sad when you go out to those families, which I believe Deputy Minister has done in just, I think 2 weeks ago, right, Deputy Minister, in KZN. And when you see what the family is going through, what it means. But what I can say, I think as a country, we can be so proud of the benefits that we have, because we've had families talk to us and say, look, you've given our children bursaries, you've given them the pensions, etc., and that has helped us. So obviously you can see the trend there, that majority are obviously non-fatal, majority are minor injuries, which I think can be prevented. So a lot of them are slips at work, etc., back pain, etc., and those can be prevented. In the next slide, if you look at your claims experience, now this is interesting, right? We all think that Gauteng is the hub of the economy, but we're actually seeing a rise in claims from the Western Cape, and it's actually surpassing the Gauteng. So you see 31,340 for Western Cape in terms of number of claims for our last financial year, and in Gauteng you see 17,221. Now, one of the things that we have seen is that the provincial government in Western Cape, especially the exempted employers, seem to be more compliant than other provinces in actually submitting their claims, and that is one of the reasons that we're seeing that high number. So it is a high rate of compliancy. I've gotten, some complaints and legal letters around departments, in other provinces where they're not submitting, especially, municipalities, etc. Then on my last and final one, which I just want to, because of time limits, I just want to quickly talk on what are the sectors that give us the biggest in terms of the compensation fund, right? Because we don't do the mining class is under RMA, the construction class majority is under FEM. So what we actually see is that we see a lot of claims under food retailers. So you're talking your ShopRite, Checkers, Woolworths, people slipping while they're packing, etc., moving goods, which is minor injuries. Then security services, obviously we know is high risk. And then what we also see is in terms of our SOEs, so Transnets, Escoms, etc., we see high injuries there. And those are the top 3 that we've seen. So overall, maybe just to end there, what I would like to just end and say is to plead with all employers, unions, workers, etc., is that please, investment in occupational health is something that has high returns, especially in the quality of life of workers who contribute to your organization. It's not a waste of money. It will build your organization in much better ways. There's so much technology out there, and there's so much benchmarking you can do, and sometimes it's just the simple things like advocacy sessions, so please don't undermine it. From us as the compensation fund, we value the attendance here, and thank you once again.
Thank you, Acting Commissioner. Just to note that the 670 inspectors that the Deputy Minister spoke about, including myself as the Chief Inspector, are 100% funded by the compensation fund. So we need to give them a round of applause for contributing to the prevention of injuries and diseases. Thank you, Ms. Fakir and your team. I am now going to call upon the CEO, Mr. Mankash Shezi, is the Group CEO of RMA, and then directly after Mr. Shezi, I'm going to call upon the CEO of the Federated Employers Mutual. You have 10 minutes each. The Minister will be speaking at 8 exactly. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Program Director. I'd like to acknowledge yourself, Millie, Chief Inspector, and the General Inspector, my colleagues, the Acting Commissioner, and Nazir, the Deputy Minister, and the Minister online, the leaders of organized labor, the leaders of organized business, the Acting Director General also online, all social partners, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I will go straight into it, given that we've got 10 minutes. At RMA, I think for those who are not familiar with who we are, we have a 130-year-old history in this space, started by 3 mining companies in 1894. Created solely in order to compensate injuries on duty. We're very proud of this pioneering legacy, and for us, we really would like to say we stand for the safety and the well-being of workers. We believe that workers are the heartbeat of the economy, and our duty as an organization is to empower them, is to enable their dreams and to restore their dignity. Therefore, this pioneering legacy, we want to build on it in order to create value for money social insurance solutions that support their life's journey. Going forward, as an organization, whilst we are a compensation fund, primarily we view ourselves as a diversified social insurer, not only dealing with compensation, but first and foremost, we look at the prevention of injuries. And I will share more this morning about how our program that we launched in April 22 has performed. I will give you some stats and the difference that it's making in the metals industry. So compensation remains core, but also as part of the new COIDA amendment bill, we have also launched a rehabilitation program in July last year, 2023, which also is supported by our subacute facility based in Welcome. We also look after our pensioners through our pensioner management program. Going forward, just to give you some numbers, in terms of the claims, I think the Deputy Minister, the Commissioner, the Acting Commissioner, Millie spoke about the high numbers of accidents that we're experiencing. And for us, we are able to even compare the incident rates across the mining class and across the metals class. We've got 28,000 employers that we look after, covering 1.1 million employees. And if you look at just this year, the number of claims that we've received up to August, we're talking about 14,000 claims. That is a lot of claims, and just in 8 months of the year. And if you look at it since 2015, you're talking about almost 300,000 claims. This is 300,000 injuries taking place just in these 2 industries. And I'd like to emphasize the point that this is actually absolutely not acceptable. Talking about the costs that the Deputy Minister spoke about this morning, since 2015 we've spent 12 billion rands compensating these claims across these 2 industries. And again, just to give you the latest numbers, up until August this year, we are at 900 million spent already, almost R1 billion. Again, the acting commissioner spoke about the club of billionaires. This is not acceptable. This is a lot of money that for the state and for our country could be used, as the Deputy Minister said, and directed to other focus areas, especially in areas around decent work and employment creation. In mining, we are also able to see that in mining, the severity, whilst the number of accidents are lower, the severity of these accidents are very bad. And in the metal space, whilst the severity is low, the frequency is very high. So these are the things that we are focusing on as an organization. And just to give you a sense of the progress that we've been making in this industry, because we do have to acknowledge the initiatives that exist in the industries themselves, especially if you look at the incident rate that we measure in terms of injuries per 1,000 lives. You will see that in the mining industry, the incident rate from 2015 has decreased from around 36 injuries per 1,000 employees to 17 injuries per 1,000 employees. This is a huge achievement by the mining industry. It talks to their practices, their OHS practices. It talks to skilled personnel. It talks to affordability and the budgets that they have. On the metal side, which is a class that we inherited from the compensation fund in 2015, there also we're seeing a nice decrease from 36 injuries per 1,000 employees to around 25. But we see that in this space, because the profile of companies, they are smaller companies, not enough skilled personnel in this area, not enough capability, and not enough budgets. This is where, as RMA, when we inherited this class, we decided that we will launch our prevention program in order to support the metals industry and help them to achieve the same achievements as in the mining class. Just quickly about our prevention program. As RMA, we fund this program and we partner with the employers for 36 months, fully funded by RMA. The target is that we reduce the incident rate by 30%. The focus areas of the program are on awareness, gap assessment, what exists in terms of capability, what doesn't exist, monitoring and evaluation, incentive programs, etc., etc. And we then, over this 3-year period, get involved in the measurement of the program, the performance of the program. We want to see increased safety in the workplace. We want to see improved employee wellness. I think the acting commissioner spoke about wellness programs, financial wellness, mental wellness. You cannot prevent accidents when people are also preoccupied with other social ills. You also have to cover those things, and this program covers that. And the outcomes is a reduced incident rate, reduced employee stress and health burden, and we want to significantly also reduce the severity of the accidents. I could not emphasize, this is something that really the employers themselves and the industry bodies and the compensation fund. Just a little bit about our journey. The program launched in April 22. We had 10 companies that participated. In 2023, 28 companies participated. In 2024, we had 60 companies participated. In 2023, we were proud to say that we started training at least 3,000 shop stewards of NUMSA. This year, we started training the shop stewards of NUM, again emphasizing the role of the different social partners and the role of the different stakeholders. There's no way that ourselves or the companies themselves can drive this program fully. So collaboration is absolutely important. We've done 70 gap analysis. We've done 68 industrial theaters from an awareness point of view in order to improve the competence of the employees when it comes to this field. We've done prevention conferences in the industry, 5 of them. 2,500 employees have been taken through the wellness programs. We had Prevention Awards Conference for the first time in the metals industry this year. So this is just to give you a sense of the highlights that we have achieved over the last few years of this program. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, the most important message that I would like to leave you with is that even though this is a pilot program, only 60 employers, but looking at the performance of these employers over the last few years, if you look at the employers that joined us in 2022, they started with an incident rate of 67 injuries per 1,000 employees, but they are now down to 35 injuries per 1,000 employees. Those that joined in 23 started at 45 injuries per 1,000 employees, and they are now down to 26. Obviously, these that have joined only in 2024, the improvement is not as significant. And we are very proud to hear examples and testimonies from large companies at Atlantis Foundries saying since they've embarked on this prevention program, their disabling injury frequency rate has dropped by 50%. Injuries on duty for Scania have dropped by 27%. So again, it talks to the fact that the little we do everywhere has the impact. And this is my last slide. Just want to say, in conclusion, as RMA, we are committed to foster the continuous professional development of the prevention fraternity, to collaborate with all the stakeholders, and to share all the learnings and best practices, and to enable the dreams of the workers and restore their dignity. And we're very excited today that we are going to be part of signing this prevention accord. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm not sure that I should thank Mr. Shears, the Program Director, for bringing me up to the stage. Just to acknowledge Honourable Minister Mayor, Deputy Minister Sibia, DG Mnzani, and all other distinguished guests here. If I was allowed more time, I could have mentioned all of your names, but I apologize for not doing so. It certainly is an honor to be given an opportunity to address all of you on this extremely important topic of today's gathering. Health and safety for our workers is one of the pillars of FEM's strategic outcomes. We are passionate about creating awareness as widely spread as possible within our sector, together with a strong presence in assisting with training and advocacy for a safe and healthy environment. Workplace accidents are always concerning, but incidents that result in disability or death for our workers are unacceptable and must be avoided. I think every speaker before me has mentioned this, and we can only agree and concur on this. But when such events occur, the significant impact causes a ripple effect, affecting not only our workers, who themselves have aspirations and dreams for their future, but also the extended families and communities that are dependent on them. Some of FEM's initiatives towards a safer workplace involve funding industry bodies in our sector with grants to promote and create awareness at the ground level. We've also embarked on an initiative this year to mentor small SMEs in helping them in designing and implementing their health and safety programs. And we've already had numerous enterprises that have come forth and have participated and benefited from this. We've also established a think tank comprising of academics from around the country, from universities collaborating with us in assisting us to develop strategies, participating in workshops and performing analysis to better understand the environment we operate in. They've estimated that only 50% of companies in the construction industry are compliant with the health and safety standards. And that it really is a shame. So, one I mentioned that RMA has been around since the 19th century. FEM is quite a new entity compared to them. We only got going in 1936 and been servicing the construction industry since then. We've had a number of milestones over that time, and we primarily focus on COIN benefits in the construction industry, but we do also do additional work that we believe adds to the safety programs within the construction industry. We started a rehabilitation program all the way back in 2021, and it is now being embedded into COIN benefits through the Amendments Act, and we believe that that is going to be a significant aid in ensuring that we get our workers back into the workplace or into alternative employment so they can continue to provide for their families. Deputy Minister Samia mentioned the future of our country. And the future of our country is dependent on us ensuring that the children of our country are well looked after and taken care of. And with this in mind, back in 2016, FEM set up an education foundation with an injection of 750 million rand of capital. And to date, we have touched the lives of over 1 million individuals from an education perspective through this foundation. The foundation focuses on programs that go back from early childhood development all the way up to tertiary studies. And FEM believes in this firmly and will continue to fund this venture going forward. One of the other initiatives we have embarked upon is assisting our beneficiaries who have been disabled and are on pension and cannot do any further for their families with an education assistance program for their children. So we have taken it upon ourselves to find the children of all our beneficiaries and put them through an education program, whether it is in school or from a tertiary perspective. And we have had over 5,000 children that we have taken on at FEM to educate and get their studies completed. So all of these initiatives that we embark upon is geared towards looking after the members of our community as well as their families and children. And we want to continue to do so going forward. And we look forward to the starting of the school, which I believe is an extremely important point in time in our history and in the future of our workers' lives. I know we're running out of time and the minister is probably waiting to get on board. So in closing, I want to thank all of you for being here and for participating in our quest to eradicate injuries, particularly serious injuries from the workplace, and promote the need for greater standard of health and safety. Thank you.
Thank you to the Group CEO of RMA as well as the CEO of Federated Employers Mutual. As you can see, the acting commissioner spoke about 20 billion rand. There was the 12 billion rand. I might have missed the FEM's billions, but it's also billions. And we who are in this room today need to make sure that we reduce injuries and diseases. The reason why we are here today, this event is fully funded by RMA and FEM, 100% funded this event, as a sign of their commitment to reducing injuries and diseases, plowing back some of the money to prevent injuries and diseases. They have injury and illness prevention programs. The Compensation Fund's Injury and Illness Prevention Program is run by my office and the 670 inspectors that we have. So I would like to thank you for plowing back into prevention of injuries and diseases. Also, I would like to acknowledge, I'll be doing acknowledgements as we go along. Those that were not acknowledged within the speech, because we can't acknowledge everybody. We also have with us Deputy Minister in the table sitting behind you. I know some are a little bit scattered. The Advisory Council for the Minister, they are appointed in terms of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. They worked tirelessly with us to ensure that the strategy is endorsed. It's a tripartite structure consisting out of organized business as well as organized labor. So they had a term of 3 years. Their term has now come to an end at the end of August. So there is a process of receiving the nominations from NEDLAC where we will have an advisory council. So advisory council members, thank you so much. I had the privilege of working with them over the past 18 months, and we worked very well together. Thank you, advisory council members. I am going to call upon the director from the ILO to also give us a message of support. The minister will be joining us at 8:20. So I'm going to call upon the director from the ILO, Mr. A. Musindu. He's responsible for the ILO within this region. Mr. Musindu, over to you. Thank you. You have 20 minutes.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Just to start by saying, even though I'm on the table, ILO is not a billionaire, even though I'm sitting on the table of billionaires. Honorable Minister, Department of Labour and Employment, joining online. The Deputy Minister, Department of Labour and Employment, thank you very much for your kind words on the ILO. The Acting Director General, Chief Inspector, senior officials from the department, leaders of organized business and labor, ILO colleagues, and just want to acknowledge, ladies and gentlemen, my 2 colleagues who are with me, Penny and Scipio, we have also been part of this process. From the ILO, it is a profound honor that I take this opportunity on behalf of the organization to witness another notable occupational health and safety milestone in South Africa under the theme Strategic Collaboration to Prevent Incidences in Occupational Diseases in the Workplace. 3 years ago, the ILO was present at the launch of the South African National Profile on Occupational Safety and Health report. This report, which was compiled in line with ILO conventions on the promotional framework for occupational safety and health, that is Convention number 187 of 2006, provided a comprehensive framework of the national OHS system. The report was a collaborative effort involving key stakeholders such as governments, employers and workers, who proudly showcased the strength of the country's OHS system. At the time, South Africa's OHS system was loaded with several key elements, including the progressive legislation, the alignment between preventative and compensatory efforts, strong tripartite dialogue structures, robust scientific research capacity, and dynamic bodies in the OHS field. These components demonstrated the country's commitment to build an effective OHS system. There was, however, still room for improvement, and attention was called to specific issues such as the fragmentation legislation and data collection efforts, the lack of implementation agreements or implementation thereof, exclusion of some workers, including those in the informal economy, inadequate consideration of gender in OHS practices and services, and limited preparedness in responding to emerging issues. The national OHS process presented a number of recommendations to address the identified gaps, and some of those included the following. One, to achieve the alignment of the national OHS laws with the relevant ILO conventions. Secondly, the issue of the national strategy and policy on OHS. Third, the harmonized and integrated data collection system on occupational injuries and diseases, as well as collaboration and cooperation between social partners, inspectorates, stakeholders, and other government departments. Honorable Minister, the world of work has witnessed development and events that have greatly impacted the evolution of occupational safety and health globally. I'm happy that South Africa continues to strategize response to such events and anticipate future ones. The launch of the OHS strategy and the signing of the Prevention Accord today represents a significant step in South Africa's commitment to improving workplace safety and health. As you move forward with the operationalization of these two critical documents, I urge you to remain vigilant in addressing several key and emerging issues, including the following. Firstly, inclusivity and non-discrimination. Safety and healthy workplaces must also be inclusive and equitable. Special attention should be given to workers in vulnerable situations, such as those in the informal economy, migrant workers, workers with disabilities, women, and child laborers. It is crucial to ensure that OHS protection extends to all without discrimination. Secondly, the issue of wellness and mental health. The World Health Organization reported that in 2019, at least 1 billion people globally were living with a mental disorder. Factors such as discrimination, inequality, heavy workloads, and workplace violence contribute to mental health issues, which in turn affect worker productivity and well-being. It is essential that we collectively promote wellness and mental health at work while providing support for those who suffer from mental health conditions. Third is the issue of climate change. The impact of climate change on OHS management strategies cannot be overstated. According to ILO statistics, 2.4 billion workers are exposed to excessive heat annually between 2000 and 2015. Approximately 23 million working lives were lost due to climate-related causes. We therefore need to develop adaptable OHS framework that address threats such as extreme heat, UV radiation, air pollution, extreme weather events, and the increased use of chemicals, particularly in the agriculture sector. Fourth is the issue of technology. It is comforting that technological advances isolate workers from hazardous tasks and substances, hence keeping them safe. However, we should not be blind to new hazards arriving with new work arrangements and diminishing commitment to secure fundamental rights at work, particularly in the digital platform of work and the gig economy. The ILO has taken steps towards collecting information and building knowledge base for sensitization and awareness on the impact of digitalization and artificial intelligence on safety and health of workers. The theme for the 2025 World Day for Safety and Health at Work will examine this subject at length. Honorable Deputy Minister, last year, 2023, the ILO governing body adopted the Global Strategy on Occupational Safety and Health. The goal of the strategy is to support ILO constituents in accelerating progress towards global decrease in the number of occupational fatalities, injuries and diseases, along with a reduction in the associated socio-economic costs. The global strategy calls upon the ILO constituents to accelerate action towards continuous improvement in building a preventative health safety and health culture. The strategy on OHS does prioritize ILO support to governments, to employers and workers' organizations towards the ratification and implementation of fundamental OHS conventions and taking other standards on OHS and strengthening capacities on the same. Support at the country level, as per the strategy, will include the following 5 items. First is the preparation for the ratification of fundamental OHS conventions and other relatives. Second is the development and review of national OHS policies and programs. Third is the integration of occupational health and safety into national development plans and other national policies and programs. And fourth is the continuous reviewing and updating of the national OHS system and elements, including laws and regulation on labor inspection. And fifth is the promotion and extension of OHS protection to employers and workers in the informal sector. The ILO stands ready to assist the South African government, workers, employers, and all key stakeholders in the implementation of the global strategy through national OHS strategy and the prevention accords. Today's milestone is a statement to the commitment and leadership of the Department of Employment and Labor, the Advisory Council on Occupational Safety and Health, and all other stakeholders involved. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Deputy Minister, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to each and everyone who has contributed to these significant achievements. The ILO remains ready, committed to supporting South Africa's efforts to advance decent work in social justice agenda, particularly through the domestication of international labor standards. With these remarks, I do thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much to the Director of the ILO for this particular region. There is a quote by Chuck Page that says, "A single leaf working alone provides no shade." And I believe that we are here together as multiple leaves in this tree related to occupational health and safety and the prevention of injuries and diseases, so that we are able to provide shade to the workers that needs it so badly. I'm going to now call upon our Minister of the Department of Employment and Labor, Honorable N. MP, to do the keynote address. Over to you, Minister. The Minister spokesperson just indicated that Minister's ready. Minister, we're not able to hear you. You are muted. Just check. Kindly unmute. We are able to see you, but we're not able to hear you, Minister. Apologies. Can the technical team in Tobeka please assist? Apologies, Minister. What is the challenge, technical team? The team online is saying, I saw a message popping up, that everybody that is joined online is able to hear Minister, but us who are in the room is not able to hear Minister. Minister, apologies, just give us a minute to try and resolve the issue. Yes, Minister, we are able to hear you.
Okay, okay. Can you see me?
Yes, Minister, we are able to see you.
Thank you so much. Apologies for that. Good morning to you, Program Director, the Honorable Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, here, the Acting Director General, Mr. Bimlen, and all officials there. Chief Executive Officer, Federated Employers Mutual Assurance, Mr. N. Chief Executive Officer, Mutual Assurance, Mr. OHS, the Second Deputy President of COSATU, Mr. D. Bruno, General Secretary of Staff, Mr. Red Deputy General Secretary of the Producer, Mr. A. Benjamin, National Health and Safety Organizer from NAC, Mr. W. Mukeleni, Director of Mr. A. Busito, Social Policy and Transformation Coordinator of Staff, Ms. S. Yanjis, President of Black Business Council in the Field Environment, Mr. D. Masunene, Presidents of professional bodies, experts, academia, and practitioners in OHS, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On Saturday night, the 12th of October, the country went into a shockwave owing to the untimely passing of the First Minister of the then Department of Labor, Mr. Tito Mboweni. He occupied the office from May 1994 to June 1999. To rub salt to an open wound, one of our inspectors was involved in a fatal accident on Sunday. He was a member of the National Working Team of Inspectors and lost his life on the way to board a plane from East London to Durban to participate in a 2-week-long police inspection. May their souls rest in peace. In every sense, today marks a historical moment. More than 2 decades ago, an occupational health and safety accord was signed by various role players in the labour market. The need to sign such an accord then was an attempt formally and symbolically deal with the poor compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. At the time, there was an outcry of the shortage of OHS inspectors. More than decades later, the number of inspectors has increased from around 60 to over 670,000. This action was envisaged to lead to higher levels of compliance. However, it is an irony that despite the injection of resources, the current levels of compliance have remained high. I'm a firm proponent of proper resourcing of the inspectorate. However, this should not be treated as a remedy for the poor compliance rules. Collectively, we need to go back to the drawing board. As a regulator in the space of OHS, we believe that it is essential to take some steps back and reevaluate our commitment drive. It seems to have waned as time passed by. I'm pleased though that today there is a formidable contingent of critical role players in the labour market. In keeping with the spirit of neglect, dialogues around matters of common interest are fundamental. More importantly, however, today is about cementing of this conversation through the signing of the prevention accord. It is a pact that will be a reminder that we have endorsed and intend towards the minimization of occupational incidents and injuries. Ladies and gentlemen, the Department of Employment and Labour strives for a labour market which is conducive to investment, economic growth, employment creation, and decentralization. As decentralization is central to workers' rights, occupational health and safety supports the departmental endeavor in the attainment of this objective. We find relevance in the paragraphs 1 and 2 of the statement of intent by the government in unity. Paragraph 1 alludes to rapid, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth and leads to strategic priority 1, inclusive growth and job creation. While paragraph 2 alludes to creating a more just society by tackling poverty inequalities, food security, and the high cost of living, also providing a social safety net, improving access to and the quality of basic services, and protecting worker rights. This leads to the strategic priority 2, which centers on the reduction of poverty and tackling a high cost of living. Both these strategic priorities support IAS response to the National Development Plan's outcomes, a long and healthy life for all South Africans. An outcome for decent employment through inclusive economic growth. Distinguished guests and delegates, this is a very important milestone for all of us, especially after the ILO in the health, safety, and health as the chief principle to the fundamental principles and rights. It is also important to remind the House that South African Constitution indicates that I quote, everyone has the right to environment that is not harmful to their health or well-being. The state must take reasonable legislative and other measures within its available resources in order to achieve this. It is noteworthy that although the Occupational Health and Safety Act of 1992 is South Africa's democratic dispensation and the Constitution of the Republic, it responds to the right that is entrenched in our Constitution. South Africa is committed to the decent work agenda and decent future of work for its citizens. All stakeholders have to work together towards the attainment of the objective of health and safety. Undoubtedly, this supports productivity. This gathering bears testimony to this commitment. Today, we are also launching the IS strategy 2024. This strategy will anchor initiatives that are work towards improving the outlook of health and safety in the country. The strategy is grounded in the 4-3 global strategy of occupational safety and health on 4 transversal guiding principles, which are 1, Pillar 1, improve national occupational safety and health frameworks. Pillar 2, strengthen coordination, partnerships, and investment in occupational safety and health. Pillar 3, enhance workplace occupational safety and health management systems. My department continues to recognize the importance of tripartism and partnership with all our collaborative partners. The Federated Employers Mutual and Mutual Assurance worked very closely with various OHS teams to make this launch and signing ceremony possible. This event is fully sponsored by FEM and RMA. I'm confident that in the next 5 years of the implementation of the strategy, we will see the improvement we all anticipate. Of interest will be how the partnership between OHS, CF, FEM, and RMA will grow and improve us. The litmus paper will be the rate of reduction and prevention of injuries and diseases. I need to point out that the strategy has 5 work results areas which will serve as a roadmap that will guide us. These results areas are coherent and effective legislation and policy, structure, cooperation, capacity strengthening and development, enforcement and data inspection, OHS management system and preventive risk management of data items, and effective research, data collection to target activities and increase OHS awareness. The department remains desperately oriented in the productivity of workers through this strategy. We want to ensure that prevention principles are inculcated in all business processes. I trust that we will earnestly work together to save lives in the world of work. One death, injury or illness is one too many. Therefore, I am committing myself as the Minister of Employment to take the first step on this road to zero. I therefore invite all our social partners and compensation competencies to join me and sign the accord that we will all commit ourselves to. I thank you all.
Thank you, Minister. I am now going to call upon the social partners to sign the accord. Minister already signed the accord. So first of all, I'm going to call upon CF, RMA, and FEM to sign the accord. There is markers there, please use the black one. Thank you, CF, for committing to prevent injuries and diseases. Thank you, FEM. Thank you to RMA. I am now going to call upon organized labor to come and sign the accord as a sign of their commitment. I'm going to call upon COSATU, the Deputy President of COSATU, D. Luvuno, to come and sign. Okay, I'm going to leave. I see Mr. Tsiane is taking out his phone to just confirm, because that's the name that we received from COSATU. I am now going to call upon Mr. Ashley Benjamin from FEDUSA to come and sign the accord, and also to Mr. Walter Lukeleni and to Mr. Zwelinzima Vavi from SAFTU. Thank you to FEDUSA. We're going to work well together to prevent injuries and diseases. Thank you to Mr. Zwelinzima Vavi. We appreciate and we look forward to working together with you. I am now going to call upon organized business to come and sign the accord as their commitment to prevent injuries and diseases. Ms. S. Chankis from PUSA. Over to you. I am going to, thank you, Ms. Jenkins, look forward to working with you and your affiliates. I'm going to call upon the Black Business Council, Mr. D. Masimene, to come and sign the accord on behalf of the Black Business Council. Mr. Masimene, over to you. Thank you. I am going to call upon all the signatories to just come. Apologies, there was a request from our media and marketing teams that all the signatories should please just come and take a photo. With regard to COSATU, we will, before the end of the session is over, have that matter resolved. But the signatories can come forward. It's just a request for a photo. Thank you to all the signatories of the accord. I am going to, before I call upon the social partners, which is organized business and organized labor, to come and provide their message of support, I am going to read out the accord that was just signed. The Occupational Health and Safety Accord. As partners promoting prevention of incidents and occupational diseases, we declare that together in partnership, we will strive to realize the following ideals: a healthy and safe working environment, the development of best practice in the occupational health and safety, mitigate and eliminate incidents, occupational diseases, and fatalities in the workplace. As occupational health and safety is a fundamental right, we embrace the principles enshrined in the ILO Convention 155 and ILO Convention 187. We commit ourselves to uphold the occupational safety, health and safety principles as enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Proactively prevent injuries and diseases. Integrate occupational health and safety into all business processes and strategies. We promote occupational health and safety awareness. Participate in the development of occupational health and safety legislation that improves workers' health, safety, productively, and supports business continuity. Improve the tripartite relationship to the benefit of all in our country. Abide by the requirements of the occupational health and safety legislation. I'm going to hold you to that as the Chief Inspector. Train workers and managers on health and safety working practices. Build and maintain an effective and efficient occupational health and safety institutional framework. We commit ourselves to constructively work together in the realization of occupational health and safety as a fundamental right for all. Let's give a round of applause to all our social partners, as well as the Compensation Fund, RMA, FEM, and the Department of Employment and Labor, which is a social partner as government, that we have signed this accord and we are going to be holding each other accountable. The Minister spoke about launching the Occupational Health and Safety Strategy 2024 to 2029. The strategy will be available on the departmental website for download. We only printed a few copies and that will be for the signatories. So we look forward to working together with you to prevent injuries and diseases as we go forward between 2024 and 2029. The Inspector General, just before we close, will give you a little bit more detail on the strategy, because in the strategy there's monitoring and evaluation, and we need to hold each other accountable. The monitoring and evaluation will be done by the Department of Employment and Labor, the Advisory Council for Occupational Health and Safety, etc. So I am now going to call upon the signatories of the accord to provide their message of support. I am going to ask Mr. Ashley Benjamin, who is from FEDUSA, to give the message of support. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes up.
Honorable Minister, Ms. Smith, Deputy Minister, Zibia, Chief Inspector, moderators, all leaders present of organized labor, business, and government, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and comrades, all protocol observed. The Federation of Unions of South Africa, FEDUSA, is honored to give a message of support on the launch of the OHS strategy and signing of the accord. The signing of the accord is a testimony of the enduring spirit of collaboration, dedication, and innovation that we as part of Labour cherish. Theme: strategic collaboration to prevent incidents and occupational diseases in the workplace resonates deeply with the struggles and triumphs we face as workers. The International Labour Organization, the ILO, has published reports of alarming statistics about workplace health and safety. The reports in 2023 revealed that around 2.93 million workers die every year due to work-related causes and another 395 million workers suffer from non-fatal injuries annually. This year's report has revealed that there are an estimated 2.41 million workers are being exposed to extreme heat each year across the world. That's a serious crisis waiting on us. These statistics emphasize the urgent need for safer and healthier workplaces worldwide. The ILO has called for stronger efforts to tackle these alarming practices. Additionally, ILO estimates that improving safety measures, more especially against excessive heat, would lead to global savings of 361 billion rand, which equals to over 6 trillion rand if you equate that. We can create a lot of jobs with that kind of money. Don't you agree, ladies and gentlemen? These findings reveal an incredibly sad and heartbreaking situation in workplace safety for many workers. The high rates of injuries, deaths, and heat-related risks demand immediate action to ensure safer working conditions for everyone. We cannot overlook the impact that climate change has on OHS. It is a fact that climate change is a global issue with severe consequences. As extreme weather events become more frequent and intense, workers across various industries are being exposed to hazards that can compromise their health and safety. Key impacts of climate change on OHS, to name a few, include heat stress, extreme weather events, pollution, and water scarcity. FEDUSA will continue to advocate for improved OHS standards and regulations. Most importantly, we will represent workers' interests in safety matters to our training and education department. We will also continue providing training to shop stewards and workers and support workers on occupational health and safety issues. We need to work together to enforce our OHS laws and regulations. We should advocate for regular inspections. We are encouraged to hear that an additional 600 inspectors were employed to enforce OHS. If I heard you correctly, DM, that is encouraging and it must be commended. Although we need a couple of thousand of them if we want to, but it is to be commended. We can all do things, however, if we fail to implement preventative we will not win this fight. As a collective, we must work together to prevent unfortunate incidents and occupational diseases, ensuring a safe and sustainable work environment. It is crucial that we collectively challenge the injustices in house working conditions to which workers are being subjected to, and we salute those employers that take the safety of workers serious and make it a priority. We must demand accountability from those employers who disregard health and safety legislation and exposing workers to unsafe working conditions. Program Director, as a signatory, we commit to support legislation and continue to advocate and agitate for safer working conditions for all workers. I thank you.
Thank you to Fedusa for pledging your support. I am now going to hand over to Mr. Zwelinsi Mavavi from SAFTU to come and give the message of support to prevent injuries and diseases. Over to you, Mr. Vavi.
Good morning, Deputy Minister Jomo and Minister Meth. In her absence, or I don't know if she's still on the webinar, the Inspector Generals and the CEOs, and you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting us to be part of this ceremony. Firstly, I think I'm quite excited, Minister, about the news in the ILO and News 24 that indicate that 4 people that have been sought by the police for the killing of 18 people in Lusikisiki have been arrested. This is very good news. Secondly, it is so odd to speak. What's going on now?
Sabotage.
It is so odd to speak after the principals have spoken. So we're going to I had thought that we would speak first, and then the minister speak thereafter. But nevertheless, let's just acknowledge the fact that a great work is being done by the department, and that we are very happy to be part of the ceremony to sign this accord on such an important matter in the lives of the working people. The slogan that we always make all the time is that we, the working people, when we go to work, we go to sell our labor, not our limbs and lives. And sometimes the opposite is happening. In particular, if you look at the history of the mining industry in South Africa. The context of the attempt over the past 30 years to change the situation that was very, very nasty must be acknowledged. All of us, I'm sure, are haunted by the memories of what would have happened in our history. The 21st of January 1960 in particular, the Cold North Colliery disaster that killed 435 mine workers. The 64 mine workers who perished on the 12th of September in 1983 at the Shobane Colliery near Vryheid. The disasters that have made us, Mr. was an activist in the Mine Workers Union, we used to speak very painful and sing song, in fact, about Shobane. And that if you look at it, in Johannesburg in particular, the bones of mine workers were never digged out of the mines.
will be equal to the highest of the buildings that we see in Johannesburg. There has been a tremendous improvement since the introduction of the Mine Health and Safety Act, that in particular give workers the right to refuse to do dangerous work. And that piece of legislation was exceedingly important to the lives of mine workers. And that's why I was one of those vocal persons this past week when we learned about the untimely passing of the minister, the First Minister of Labour, who pioneered and engineered all of the pieces of legislation that we are celebrating today. It happened during his tenure of the first 5 years as one of the youngest ministers. May his soul rest in peace. And by the way, condolences to you, the department, because this is the colleague that I'm sure will always remain in your lips for many, many years for the work that he did in terms of shaping the work that we are citing today. We acknowledge too that the incidents are declining as well in the rest of the metal industry and in the private sector. The issue that I think we have to talk about is the figures that seem to suggest that in terms of claims, the claims are higher. We don't know what informs that, and I'm sure we're going to learn more about why there are higher claims when the numbers of accidents seem to be going down. Don't know whether it's the nature of the incidents. We spoke about the frequency of those incidents in the metal industry. We acknowledge, however, the work that we should all do and to be advocates of a prevention strategy. We quite happy that there is work to train shop stewards. The trade union movement is also challenged to ensure that the shop stewards are trained to welcome and to embrace their own responsibility to be ensuring that, in every workplace, everyone knows their responsibility and therefore can play a direct role in ensuring that people do not die like flies as they used to die in both mining and the rest of the private sector. I don't want to say too many things. Thank you very much. We're happy that we have attached our signature to the accord. We will play our part in ensuring that it is enforced everywhere where we are organized. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vavi from SAFTU for those messages of support. We look forward to working with you to reduce injuries and diseases, and even when they do occur, when we do incident investigation, to make sure that we have organized labor with us. I'm going to call upon Mr. Walter Lukeleni from NAPTU. Mr. Lukeleni was also part of the advisory council whose term just came to an end. Mr. Lukeleni, over to you for a message of support.
Thank you, Program Director. I need to acknowledge the Minister Online, Comrade Merth, the Deputy Minister, Comrade Spear, the Inspector General, the leaders of business and the leaders of organized labor, and most importantly, the sponsors of this event. Thank you for your sponsorship. As the National Council of Trade Unions, we are much appreciative of the fact that this event takes place almost 500 years later, when the African Holocaust happened, where global slavery started. That is where workers, African people were taken as slaves to go and work outside Africa without any safety measures being taken care of. As National Council of Trade Unions, we believe that 500 years later we've made strides, but Deputy Minister, the biggest stride that we have made in the last 30 years is that we have moved from a culture where it was common cause for workers to die and get injuries in the workplace. As NACTU, we commend the Department of Employment and Labour for moving forward, but also we commend the social partners, organized business, specifically for committing themselves into reducing the incidence of injuries and disease. As NACTU, we are very selfish with this signing of this accord, because our focus is that every worker that we lose to injury, every worker that we lose to disease is a loss to us, not only in terms of membership, but in terms of intellectual property, because those people come with experience that could assist our new members as they come into the workspace. So we are happy to commit and pledge that we will work together with all our social partners, where we organize and where we are not even organized, we make sure that we continue to ensure that injuries and disease are monitored, are reduced, because our aim, which the ideal situation we should have, is to have zero injuries, zero disease. Unfortunately, because of the evolution of the methods of work, we might be getting new diseases, new injuries, but we need to put them on a minimum. A specific mention to the ILO, we are happy that you are assisting. Please continue to assist and help us make sure that we reduce injuries and disease. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lukeleni. We are now going to take a tea break. It is a bit chilly, so you can get some tea or coffee to warm yourselves up. But before we do so, I am going to request that the Inspector General, Ms. Huna, will be leading you just to the briefing room for the tea break. And also, we will then have the tea break for a period of 20 minutes. So it's now almost 9. Let us be back at 9:20. There is a quote that says by Helen Kellner, "Alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much. So together we will be doing much." So I'm going to request the Inspector General and the DM just to go to the briefing room. They will be joined by the CEOs as well as the signatories just for the 20-minute tea break. So let us be back at 8:20. Thank you.
Are you busy? Yeah?
together a round of applause.
Minister May, Deputy Minister Romo, Acting Director General, Mr. Bebe Benzana, Program Director of Force, Inspector General, government officials, leaders of organized labor, various leaders of business in the room, and CEOs. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I do send apologies from the Vice President, Mr. Mpolisi Mkojo, Deputy President Adrian Paul, and Chief Executive Officer Cass Mbodia. Who couldn't make it today, so unfortunately you are stuck with me. I think, before I start with the gist of my remarks, it would be very remiss of me not to say my respect and my condolences to this department on the passing of the former government, but I think more importantly, the very first democratic minister. At this year's summit, and I think some of you were in the room that day at the NECAC summit, Les Capitas gave quite an emotive speech about how at the very first delegation after South Africa was banned at the ILC, the amount of mobilization and purchasing and borrowing down that this department had to do at this organization. So I would imagine that there's a couple of you in this room who were there at Genesis. Some of us, like myself, were crawling on the ground. But it is worth mentioning that we are here today because there were massive great steps taken. So my condolences from the business community. And we are very, very close to the work in the heart of this department. So we look to the International Labour Organization to guide us and help us align to international standards, and we recognize that in line with the Department of Employment and Labour, we're here to emphasize the importance of occupational health and safety as a fundamental right and principle of work. And we know that the ILO's framework includes guidelines and conventions aimed at ensuring safe and healthy working environments. We're encouraged that in line with that is why we're here today. We also do commend, and this is also coming from business, that this department is definitely one of the departments that takes those instruments quite seriously, along with the notion of social dialogue. Preventive approach, worker participation, a proper legal framework that's going to promote this policy, and of course these OHS standards, training and education and health promotion. It's also not lost on us that the spirit of tripartisan and effective social dialogue has led us to this penultimate stage today. Today is marking a significant milestone in our commitment to ensuring a safe and healthy work environment for every employee in South Africa. As a business, we're incredibly thrilled and also recognize the immense political role of this government alongside its social partners. In recent years, we've witnessed the vital importance of workplace safety, not just in terms of compliance, but as a fundamental pillar of our organizational culture within business. Each one definitely deserves to return home safely at the end of the day. And I'm thinking about some of the remarks that Comrade Bobby made at the beginning of the session, and I was actually saying to him while we were on break, it's really, really nice to laugh outside of the daytime walls, where sometimes we feel like adversaries. So the department has a very unique way in bringing us together like that to make sure that the relationships that we form can withstand the time, even in tough discussions and in tough negotiations. So that is why the Department of Employment and Labour is incredibly important to us, and I'm not trying to score you as well here people in this section, but it's a sentiment that rings very, very true to us. Thank you. I'm hoping people can hear me a bit well now. Thank you. So we recognize recognize that this is an unprecedented move that signifies action, and this accord and strategy is the input of partners who have acted on this political will. The mitigation and prevention of occupational diseases is entirely the responsibility of all stakeholders in this room. It is a proactive approach to fostering a culture of safety which will carry us forward. The development of health and safety legislation receives utmost attention from business, and we're not saying this lightly. And the business constituency does take note that we need to make sure that we are a part of this conversation, but also we have a massive amount of accountability in this discussion. We'd also like to take this opportunity to sign up to bettering ourselves, and also to say a big congratulations to the department that is taking these steps. Over this break, there were also talks that were being had in terms of the amount of personnel and staffing complements that can bring this to life. And I think those integral, steps and efforts speak beyond what we are putting on paper, and we do recognize that. Our commitment to occupational health and safety extends beyond compliance with legal requirements, and I'm stressing that again because it reflects these core values that we have as the business ethics organization: respect, integrity, and care for work. We do believe that a safe workplace is a productive workplace where creativity and collaboration can flourish without the shadow of political risks. And as the department that resides over productivity, we do note that these things go hand in hand. As we move forward, I urge each one of you to take an active role in what we are doing today. Let us continue in the spirit of tripartisan while upholding these instruments. In closing, I would want to express my gratitude to all those who have contributed to the development of this day. It wouldn't have been easy. And while I am up here, it would also be remiss of me not to thank the work of the Advisory Council on Occupational Health and Safety who make us look good, as well as the partner in arms. A couple of my business colleagues are in this room, but they do work in an ecosystem of people, and I know that these have been massive efforts. We do receive a lot of feedback, so we do want to say thank you very much. The tireless work that you have done is definitely commendable, and we'd like to embrace what we are saying here today and make our workplace a model of safety. Thank you.
Thank you to Busa for those remarks and message of support to prevent injuries and diseases. Also, thank you for acknowledging the work of the Advisory Council that does the work in the background. Even today's DM, the Accord, the last meeting of this Advisory Council, which term came to an end, they were going through the Accord, giving inputs on the Accord as organized business and organized labor. And even the work that we've done with the Occupational Health and Safety Bill, which we're hoping would be moving forward soon. It was a task team of organized business, organized labor, led by myself and government officials that worked on it tirelessly to get the bill to where it is. So thank you for that. I am now going to call upon the Black Business Council to just come and also give a message of support to prevent health injuries and diseases. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. The challenge of speaking after a vertically empowered being is that if you are like myself, vertically challenged or disempowered, you have to adjust. Thank you very much, Program Director. Let me first acknowledge the Minister of Department of Employment and Labor, Lady Sameth, the Deputy Minister, the DGs of the department, Chief Inspectors, the Board of FEM and Management, industry and organized labor and organized business leadership and representative. And allow me to also join the queue and provide condolences of the passing of Mr. Tito Mboweni, who is the overall Minister of Department of Labor, the former Governor of Reserve Bank, and the former Minister of Finance. I'm saying to the Mboweni family and friends, to the movement of the African National Congress, and to the private sector that worked closely with Mr. Mboweni, our sincere condolences. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have signed a court and we have all witnessed the signature, I can only hope that this is not just a mere tick box exercise, because the OHS Act 85 of 1993, which now includes the Code of Practice, which manages the exposure to SARS-CoV-2 in the workplace and any other illness, you know, it is all our responsibility to make sure that we comply and adhere to the Act. And myself representing the employers under the forum of organized business, we have responsibilities as employers. Whereas Section 17 of the Act, it says that any person or any entity that employs 20 or more workers on premises, they must appoint a rep to monitor health and safety conditions. But for us to make sure that this is complied with, we need to have more inspectors on the ground so that we are able to inspect every workplace and we don't respond to media invitation, because in most cases we react to media that bring to us, you know, unsavory practices at many workplaces. And again, I have to emphasize that in the construction sector, unfortunately, we find ourselves putting more focus on the public funded projects and paying less attention to the privately funded projects. So I'd like to indicate that the Act applies to both public and privately funded projects. And it is important that when we do our sessions, consultation, we also bring in, you know, those who are in the private space in terms of construction to try and avoid what happened a while ago where the building in George collapsed, and we all found wanting, you know, and all sort of questions were asked: where was Department of Labor, where was CIDB, and all these regulatory bodies. So it is important that even behind those gated complexes, the 4-meter high perimeter wall, the inspectors, they need to get access, you know, to those construction sites and make sure that every piece of legislation and its regulation, it is complied with. However, the big elephant in the room is not necessarily not complying with the occupational health and safety, but we have a higher risk, you know, and we need to find a way to formalize it up until we are sure that we have managed to get rid of the cancer. And that risk is the issue of the site invasion or the construction mafia. They poses number one risk in my own analysis, because once they arrive on that site, we can no longer, you know, regard that site as safe, because they come there with automated rifles, armed, very armed, and even when they enter the site, they don't really comply with the protocol that come with occupational health and safety, and even if you want to bend backwards and accommodate the demand, it still becomes very difficult, to try and make sure that they still comply with the occupational health and safety on site. And for us, as a country, that is a ticking bomb, which has to be addressed like yesterday. And it is long overdue that we come up with a lasting and permanent solution to address this cancer that is engulfing not only the construction industry, but it has overlapped also to other sectors. And let me touch a bit on also the Section 8 of the Act that prescribed the general duties of employers like ourselves as BBCBE to their employees. There is an obligation to provide and maintain a workplace that is safe without risk to the health of their employees. So we fall short of making sure that the workplace is safe on the basis of what I've just mentioned, the issue of site invasion, extortions, So on that base, we cannot really turn a blind eye and think that our construction sites are safe. They are not safe, and something must be done to that effect. So, as I'm referring to the issue of safety, as BBCBE, we also have come to a conclusion that the issue of making sure that occupational health and safety, it cannot be reduced to a competition in terms of pricing, because then the pricing, if you price it adequately, it rules you out of becoming the bidder, because as you know, in terms of the triple PFA, unfortunately, the lowest is the one that must be, awarded, and for you to be the lowest, it means that you are then required to cut corners in terms of making sure that you provide with adequate or you comply fully with occupational health and safety, and we are, making a proposal, to those who are responsible, to the costing and to make sure that the issue of occupational health and safety becomes a provisional sum so that we don't compete in terms of saving lives. Because once we start competing, then it compromises the very same objective that we would like to achieve. So the last section, which I like very much, section 12, it says that the general duties of employers regarding listed work is having regard to the nature of the risk associated with such work and the level of exposure of such employees to the hazards that we carry out in the occupational health and safety space, to make sure that the hygiene is adhered to. And we also have to be very careful while we encourage that the mask must be worn for those who are not feeling better. But as the practitioners, we have to make sure that we don't end up, using the mask, for as one of the PPE. If you are exposing your workers to dust, to paint, and other hazardous substances, it is proper that we make use of the right equipment. And as I've already indicated, that it is important that we make sure that our construction sites, they are safe, but we also have to make sure that our inspectors from Department of Labor, they don't only focus on the public sector funded. There is a requirement, there is a regulation that requires that before you commence work at any construction site, you need to get a permit from Department of Labor, but it looks like that requirement is only applicable to the public funded projects. When it comes to the privately funded, we are found wanting. So it is important that we look into that area just to make sure that even those that are doing private projects, they employ the rightly documented people. They are also adhered to the occupational health and safety, because it is mostly on those sides where you find that our workers, they are working there with techies, and not with proper PPE. So it is alarming that in South Africa, every 10 minutes on a site, an employee is killed. And it is estimated that in the construction sector, 40% of work-related death occur on site. You know, and it is important for us to realize that we are doing better. We really need to bring down that 40% to zero. It is important that we do that. And based on these stats, so the construction industry in South Africa has the third highest fatalities. That comes after fishing and the transport sector. So for those that have signed their accord, to make sure that it is not just a tick box exercises, to make sure they are committed to the process. In conclusion, allow me to share a quote by Martin Luther King Jr., which says that if it falls to you a lot to be a street sweeper, sweep street like Michelangelo painted pictures, street like Beethoven composed music, sweep street like Shakespeare wrote poetry, sweep street so well that those of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, here lived a great street sweeper who served his job so well. Close quote. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Black Business Council for those messages of support, for quoting the Occupational Health and Safety Act and the duties of an employer, because the duties of an employer is very important, and for committing to the duties of an employer. Because if the employer does what is in Section 8 of the Occupational Health and Safety Act, where they need to have a risk assessment in place to prevent injuries and diseases, compliance with Section 8 will take away all the thousands and thousands of injuries and diseases that we have, as well as the more than 20 billion that we spend on injuries and diseases. I am now going to just request Mr. Tsiane is Pusatu, yeah? Not yet, but Pusatu will sign before we are done. I'm going to just request on the speakers that was on the program, we just want to give you a gift before we as the department take the last session. We cannot have a session with the right people in the right room, not talk about our strategy and not do advocacy and education on injury and illness prevention programs. So we just want to hand over a gift. I'm going to call upon the Chief Director for Statutory Services and Advocacy. He is acting currently in the position that is Mr. Baitri is not always clean. My clicks are not always clicking. Mr. Lutlande from our branch, the unit that he's responsible for is making sure that we have advocacy sessions, and they are also making sure that when there's non-compliance, you get prosecuted. So that's the person you should also be looking out for. He's making sure that after we've issued notices and we've given sufficient time for compliance for all labor laws, then we enforce. So that is the enforcement arm. So Mr. Lieutenant, you can come to the front, and then I am just going to call upon, first of all, our You can just bring them. We didn't want to put them in the front. So you can bring maybe the first 3 gifts. We're going to call upon our Deputy Minister. Deputy Minister, it's a small token of appreciation from the prevention teams, from RMA, FEM, and the branch IAS, OHS, just to say thank you. I don't think you have to declare it. No, you don't need to declare it. Thank you so much. The one for the minister, we will leave in the minister's office with the minister's personal assistant. Then, I'm not sure, the Billionaires Club, you were speaking, you are also funding the gifts. The Billionaires Club indicated on a lighter note that you are giving us 10 minutes, but you're giving the ILO 20 minutes. So because they are the Billionaires Club, they should be very efficient, so we gave them 10 minutes. So Billionaires Club, you can come forward. I'm going to give you, if you want to, you can choose people in the audience that you want to give your gift to. I normally do that when I receive a gift which I've been part of. No pressure. So I'm going to call upon Ms. Fakir, Mr. Hussein, and Mr. Shezi. No pressure, you don't have to do it, but if you want to, you can. Is Mr. Balatsi in the room? Thank you. Take you to the Billionaires Club. I am now going to go to the social partners, just a token of appreciation from RMA, FEM, as well as the compensation fund and OHS. I'm going to call upon you to give you gifts. We do have Kosatu in the room. I have the privilege of being the chairperson. And like my boss always says, she likes fast cars. She would want to have a Maserati. So she drives a program like a Maserati. So, Chief Director, just put it down. Maybe we will give an opportunity to Kosatu to do the message of support and also to sign the award so that when we give the gifts to the social partners, which is organized labor, we do so. Thank you.
Greetings, colleagues. Greetings, colleagues. Maybe it's important, maybe firstly, before extending greetings, one to apologize on behalf of Kosatu for coming very late. The GS was supposed to have came, but at the 11th hour it was said, myself as the president, I must form part of this program meeting. Let me greet all the sorry, it's unfortunate. Let me greet everyone here so that I don't speak lies and people who are not here. Let me greet everyone who's here and all the federations that are here. Ourselves as Kosatu, we are looking forward to the commitments that have been made to work collaboratively in making sure that in compensation, it does not only aid in compensation, but however, we also dwell on prevention. One is lucky because as an individual, I'm representing Kosatu in all these companies, RMA, FEM, as well as compensation fund. So one, unfortunately, maybe that is why I did not prepare coming driving from this side. So I'll speak from the heart. We, ourselves as Kosatu, we are committing ourselves, as I've said, that we'll work hand in hand with everyone involved in this particular very important step moving forward of committing everyone to say it should always be, our commitment should always be what we are looking for, to make sure that we save lives, we make sure that if unfortunately things happen that are beyond our control, we are able to look beyond forced work when corporate or our workers are no longer working for compensation. And what actually makes us happy as well is the initiatives that have been taken by RMA as well in terms of the important element of rehabilitation, which it goes beyond just compensating, but now will be rehabilitating. So as I've said that I did not prepare anything, I'm speaking, I'm being directed to come and speak now and so on and so forth. Next time I do, when we're coming to reflect in the future, believe me, I'll volunteer to be the one coming and I'll be more prepared. Thank you very much.
Kusatu, I don't want you to go. We have the accord. So I want you to maybe read the accord and indicate that this is what Kusatu actually decided has been shared. Then we go to the question just decided. So kindly read the accord and indicate that you are committing as Kusatu.
Thank you very much. I think it's fair now because you know committing not a break is very dangerous. Maybe let one start reading. As partners promoting prevention of incidents and occupational diseases, we declare that together in partnership we will strive to realize the following ideals: a healthy and safe working environment, the development of best practices in occupational health and safety, mitigate and eliminate of incidents, occupational diseases and facilities in the workplace. As occupational health and safety is a fundamental right, we embrace the principle enriched in the ILO Convention 155 and ILO Convention 187. We commit ourselves to uphold the occupational health and safety principles as enriched in the Bill of Rights. We commit to proactively prevent injuries and diseases, to integrate occupational health and safety into all business processes and strategies. We commit to promote occupational health and safety awareness and participate in the development of occupational health and safety legislation that improves worker health, safety, productivity, and supports business continuity. We commit to improve the tripartite relationship to the benefit of all in our country, to abide by the requirements of occupational health and safety legislation, and to train workers and managers on health and safety working practices. We commit ourselves to build and maintain an effective and efficient occupational health and safety institutional framework. We further commit ourselves to constructively work together in the realization of occupational health and safety as a fundamental right for all workers as COSATU. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President of COSATU. Kindly sign the copies that I've given you because we want to give the social partners a hard copy of the smaller version of the accord. So thank you so much. We now have all the signatories that have signed Let's give a round of applause. Thank you so much. We have organized business, organized labor, and government with the compensation fund and its licensees that have pledged to prevent injuries and diseases. So I'm now going to call upon organized labor just to receive a small token of appreciation. You do not have to declare it. I don't think it is the value is that high that you have to declare. So I'm going to call upon Fedusa, and I'm going to call upon Naktu. I'm going to call upon Saftu, as well as Kusatu, to just come and receive a token of appreciation. Mr. Malatsi and the Acting Chief Director will be just giving you a small token of appreciation. Mr. Benjamin, you can go. Thank you to Fedusa, Mr. Lukeleni. Do you want to take pictures? Turn around. Thank you, Naktu. And next is Saftu. Thank you, Mr. Vavi. The photo, they're taking photos, pose and smile. Thank you, Deputy President of COSATU. Over to you. Just a small token of appreciation. Thank you. I am now going to call upon organized labor, business, just to receive a small token of appreciation. I'm going to call upon Busa. Thank you for supporting us in this endeavor. Ms. Jaiki. Pose and smile. Okay, next is the Black Business Council. Thank you for showing your message of support on behalf of the head of the Black Business Council. Just a small token of appreciation from RMA, FEM, and the Department of Employment and Labor. Thank you. We are now going to change gears a little bit. Like I said, we cannot have an audience as big as this and not talk about advocacy and education. I'm going to call upon Ms. Mulelwa Una that will just be briefly speaking to you about the injury and an illness prevention program, because we have now signed that we are going to prevent injuries and diseases. So she will briefly speak to you. Ms. Una, no more than 20 minutes. Then we will have the Inspector General that will just be speaking about the strategy, and hopefully, not hopefully, definitely, we will then be done by 10 to 11. Over to you.
I hope everyone can see me. I'll apologize, Deputy Minister. I'll just say all protocol observed. I've only been given 20 minutes. So in these 20 minutes, I'll be standing on the shoulders of giants because we've broken protocol a bit. So I'll take, So in these 20 minutes, we'll quickly go through on what elements you need to address when you develop an illness prevention and injury prevention program. So those are the aspects that we'll get. So this you will talk to the presentation. We'll get it on our website, so you don't need to take notes. So through all the speeches that were made, and it's always a reminder, I want to remind everyone that a safe and healthy working environments are now fundamentally central to people's rights. It's a human rights issue, and it's entrenched in our Bill of Rights. So for all businesses to thrive, we have to look after the human resource that is in place, because no business can thrive without the human resource. Doesn't matter how much you automate, still need someone to do something. So if we look at the statistics that was presented by the compensation competencies, you've picked up a trend. But what you've picked up there is only the direct costs of an incident. So we all know the iceberg effect. Remember the story of the Titanic? We know what happened. So the same principle, the iceberg theory, applies in the world of work. So when we look at the direct costs, we've got the medical costs that need to be catered for. We've got the insurance cost. All have insurances. Nobody doesn't have an insurance here. If the principle is you claim, your premium goes up. So same here as in the world of work, we don't have any prevention programs in place. And then there's a loss of production time when we don't put any prevention programs in place. Someone gets diagnosed with occupational disease, someone gets injured, you lose production time because now affecting everything that is happening in the workplace. And then if we're dealing with a criminal act, you've broken the law. If you find during investigation that somebody needs to be dealt with, you can have a criminal record. So the magistrate can decide if you get a fine or you get imprisonment or you get both. So now, those are the minimal parts that were displayed there. But let's look now at the bigger chunk at the bottom, below the water. So the indirect costs, I don't know if people budget every day for that. It's normally things that you don't look after when you look at your overhead costs of running a business. So you've got injured workers in your work environment, they lose their wages, and you've got overtime that needs to be paid, and you have not budgeted for that particular overtime. And then also, in terms of the projects that you have or production processes, there may be bonuses that you may get in terms of your business process and so forth. Those may be lost. And then also the employee's morale is negatively affected. Even if your colleague has not been injured or diagnosed with an occupational disease, but being in that particular setting will negatively affect you, that's got a negative impact on productivity. And then you lose out as the business. You may need to make sure that everyone goes for counseling. Anyway, it is what's going to affect them mentally, so we need to look after the mental health well-being. So I'm not sure if you've got that in your budgets, on your back pocket, weigh which one is cheaper or expensive, but I'll advise you to have an prevention program. So the second aspect is affecting your turnover, because now, in terms of our business processes, as business people, you have profits that you don't want to run business at a loss, but you've got incidents, you've got diseases, occupational diseases that keep on being reported. By the mere fact your production is affected, and then affects your turnover. Some contracts may be cancelled. What if you've got a huge order now, it gets affected in terms of the business process, it gets cancelled, you lose some orders. And then it affects your reputation. Maybe during the incident, some equipment got damaged, you need to repair it. You may have insured it, but what if you're underinsured and so forth, you need to pay excess and so forth. We camp at your workplace, and we don't mind bringing sleeping bags. We'll come and camp there. If we need to stay for 3 months, we'll stay for 3 months. We'll sleep there, and it affects your time. And I don't think that you budget for that time we spent there. And there are living examples whereby we can be closed for a period of 3 months and so forth. And then your employees are not fit for duty because of that particular occupational disease, that particular persons have been diagnosed with, or the injury. Oh, now you need to employ people, training time you have not budgeted for. So the other things you'll read later, community around that can be affected and so forth, because communities, they know their rights. So there can be protests that affect your businesses depending on your processes. So those indirect costs need to be catered for. So I will skip this slide, we'll read it. I will just want to go to the elements because the 20 minutes may. So the first element you need, there should be responsibility and commitment. So also when you look at section 16 of the Act, the CEO is given that responsibility. The CEO may delegate, but the CEO does not get relief of accountability. So there can be a person that is a champion for the program, but that person must have top level support that will show commitment on the implementation on that program. Then, how is compliance ensured in that environment? So you need to assess all the regulatory requirements in terms of your processes. It's not only Department of Employment, labor laws that will be catered for. You check now in terms of the sphere of processes for your business processes. Are there other interlinked regulatory processes that you need to comply with? Because everything in the business environment is interlinked. Because if you look at chemicals, we call in the legislation for environmental affairs, so you can check at the municipal level what anything that links to compliance issues. And also make sure that your performance in terms of health and safety is evaluated, meaning that your key performance indicators for the champions and any other persons involved in the process of prevention, there must be KPIs in the performance agreement. So it's not a by-the-way issue. So there should be communication with the workers. We prescribe minimum meetings for quarterly in terms of the legislation. That is a minimum requirement. Legislation is a minimum requirement. So in terms of communicating the workers, we need to make sure that even the cleaner understands the message in terms of prevention, all the prevention aspects that are put in place. So we need to make sure that in terms of communication, all the prevention aspects are understood by the entry-level worker up to the CEO. You can use pictograms forever, but the message needs to be understood. We've addressed that. Incident recall is important. If you make an example of the George collapse, people in that sector, the construction sector, they need to be lessons from all the major incidents that have happened in the construction sector. Not all of them. I'm only mentioning the George collapse because it's the most recent one. But all the incidents that happened, there needs to be a recall so that lessons from that particular incident can be shared with the people in that environment, and the workers need to what happened, what led to that, and what are the preventive measures to prevent the recurrence. If someone is exposed to hazardous agents, or someone is diagnosed with occupational disease, and then there needs to be a recall without disclosing issues, personal information, you share all the issues that relate to that exposure and the control measures that are put in place. Hazard assessment and control needs to be in place. Job descriptions, if you've got new job descriptions, you review what is new in that particular environment, how we need to improve on prevention aspects. You've improved the work process and we prescribed in our regulations. If you review the processes significantly, you've got an incident or someone diagnosed with occupational disease, or every 2 years you need to review. So any change that impacts on your prevention measures, you will need to review and make sure that control measures are still on par. We will see where PPE is, né? You see? It's the small part of the triangle. So PPE is the last resort. Once I'm investigating what type of controls need to be put in place, we can the last resort. You follow the hierarchy of controls. We all know the principle. I'm not going to go through that. Né? We only take DDG will explain to the DM sitting with the chief inspector over a cup of coffee. I can't get it.
It's your responsibility to explain. Explain it now.
I've been given 20 minutes, DM.
Explain.
So, I'm explaining to the DM, everyone else knows. So, with respect to the hierarchy of controls, you first look at elimination, whether you can eliminate that particular problem, can physically remove that exposure to that hazard. That's your first step. But if you can't, then you have to look now, can you substitute with a lesser hazardous agent? Now, it will depend now on the nature of the substance, on the nature of the process, but that's your second level. but we'll go to detail later today over a cup of coffee. And then, if you fail on that one, we'll go to engineering controls. I'll make a simple example, LDM, a simple example. You will remember during the pandemic, there were screens when you go to the shops, for the cashiers, and the cleaners, you'll see people working cubicles with screens. That's a simple example of an engineering control, because you are separating the other. We are protecting the one that is bringing the exposure to the person that is coming to pay, and the one that is providing the service. I'm trying to give a simple example, but we'll talk more. Administrative control includes your training, your medical surveillance, your risk assessment, exposure monitoring, and so forth, the maintenance of equipment, and so forth. So, there we're just trying to show you now, when it comes to the levels of prevention, all your risk assessment and exposure monitoring, whereby it will indicate now, in terms of the hierarchy of control and in place, that is your primary prevention, and that is important. And then that will inform your medical surveillance, your medical screening medical surveillance program, because primary and secondary, they complement each other. Because if we become a gap, then we have to go back and see where to complement again. And then tertiary prevention is when the popo hits the fan. There's a systems failure, somebody's gotten injured or somebody's gotten diagnosed, then tertiary prevention through the compensation competencies come in. There should be diagnosis, there should be treatment plan in place, there should be rehabilitation in place. But it's a continuous loop. So we've spoken about incident investigation and exposure investigation when I was talking about incident recall. But the main aim here, this is not a punitive exercise. That is the key message. It's not a punitive exercise. It's to find what led to that incident or exposure so that we can implement corrective measures. Because the tendency often is to find out who was wrong. At that time, we need to find out now what were the contributing factors to that incident or exposure so that corrective measures can be put in place. It also informs us in terms of legislation now, where do we need to improve if there was a gap in legislation? Your rules in terms of health and safety, your operating procedures and so forth, they should be periodically reviewed as systems are changing in your workplace. We've dealt with emergencies, so we should learn from the pandemic that you coordinate emergency responses. So in your risk assessment and your planning procedures, make sure that in the eventuality of any emergency, depending on your business process, what are the emergency processes in place, and everyone is aware of that, and who are the champions leading to that. Training is important, it's central to everything, because people need to know how they need to work in that environment to protect themselves, and also how they need to cooperate with the employer to make sure that the system works. Record keeping. For training, those records must be kept for the duration of employment. If I'm working for the Department of Employment and Labor for 40 years, my training records must be available for 40 years. But in terms of exposures, we prescribe a minimum of 40 years for risk assessment, exposure monitoring, and medical surveillance records. So we've spoken to this, but a situational analysis is very important because we need to know the status quo of your organization before you implement the program. Check where are the pockets of excellence that you need to bring together. Because I don't believe that there's an organization that's got nothing in place. So you need to check now where are the pockets of excellence, where do you need to bring systems together. We've spoken to that. Let's just go into detail. This normally takes an hour, but I was given 20 minutes. So, we've picked up a trend. Inspectors will go for inspections. Now, the risk assessment has been done, exposure monitoring is in place, but now, they go on 5:13, we all know 5:13, it's just a compliance exercise. Nobody is going through those documents to check, okay, now, I had my risk assessment conducted and it required to be quantified according to an AIA, they came in with the results. But now, have I developed an action plan? We need to have an action plan in place on how to implement the recommendations. You find that, yeah, you compare a report every 2 years, find that it's the same findings. It's only the data that is changing. So that is wrong. We must develop action plans and also make sure that there are timelines attached and responsibilities attached so that you monitor that action plan. Because how do you move towards improvement if there's no action plan in place? I mean, even for our cars or whatever, we've got maintenance schedules in place. You don't just keep it at the back of your mind. Even your car will tell you, I'm due now. Then it gives you that extra 1,000 kilometers, and then we start panicking, start making appointments. So let's not be on a panic mode. Let's make sure that action plans are in place. So the action plan, there should be priority items. The highest priority items should be at the top, making sure that the timelines and the budget speaks to that. And there are issues that will not require particular budget. We might need to reorganize some processes, then we don't need to spend much. And then the workers need to know what is on the program, and then it will be maintained that particular program. So there are key success factors when it comes to prevention. And we all know that now OHS is the fifth principle on the fundamental principle rights at work, and that gives a greater responsibility now on all role players. It's not on employers, even the workers have got the duty to look after themselves. So a silo approach should be prevented. So we should always anticipate any new risks that impact on our processes and impact on worker well-being and productivity. Also, make sure that the different disciplines within the organization work together because they complement each other. We've got HR people that will develop policies alone, but these policies have got an impact on workers. Because if you look at BSA issues, the working hours have got an impact on exposures and so forth. And then you've got your engineers that will design the most complicated systems, forgetting that someone's going to work with that. So all the different disciplines need to work together: hygienists, safety personnel, economics practitioners, and so forth. All the time we need to build and maintain competence to make sure that we are on par. Let's learn from past experiences. We worked very well during the lockdown, during the pandemic. We complemented each other with competencies. So why are we leaving those lessons behind? Let's leverage on the lessons that we had to work well as role players to make sure that the workers were protected. Everyone who's a role player in the world of work was protected, and business were able to resume safely afterwards. So let's leverage on those experiences and maintain them. Then we've got the international labor standards and other instruments on OHS that we need to look into, making sure that whatever best practices are out there, guidelines and anything that impacts and improves our processes, we look into it. And then, as we're here as different role players. So we need to continue with this relationship at all times. So, I borrowed that from Mr. Mabele. I'm acknowledging you. You see that basket? Okay. You carry that the whole day for 8 hours. DM, what will you remove first if you have to carry that basket? Hi, Chief Inspector. DM, what will you remove? The pineapple. Because DM doesn't want to suffer from MST, but now, Dr. Makubane said, or Dr. Spore said, or Dr. Zulu, you need everything that is on that basket. Because it's part of your nutrients in the workplace. Because it's the different programs in the workplace that influence what is happening there in terms of prevention. So isn't it best now to take a blender, chop everything, and have a smoothie in terms of prevention? So, the key success is to acknowledge the different disciplines, acknowledge the different areas of expertise. Nobody knows everything. We need to always learn from each other and always identify the link between poor conditions and associated injuries and diseases. We need to establish and maintain a symbiotic relationship of mutual benefit, not of parasitic nature, of mutual benefit, because we are equal role players in this field. Thank you. The benefits you can read later. Thanks.
I'll try and put it together again. Thank you so much for that brief presentation on injury and illness prevention. I know that we have CFOs in the room. We also have CEOs of RMA, FEM. So I know that you've learned something based on what was said here. So it's not everybody that knows the triangle on prevention. I believe, can I see who has learned something about the triangle of prevention? I see a lot of hands. So we've all learned here from the triangle of prevention. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to hand over to Ms. Eddie Moira. She's the Deputy Director General, responsible for inspection and enforcement services, but we also call her the Inspector General, responsible for all the enforcement and inspections of all the labor laws in the country. Over to you, ma'am, to speak about just our strategy that we are going to implement over the next 5 years.
Greetings to the Minister of Labour and Employment, Honourable Namakosas and Ahmed. I acknowledge the Deputy President of DEL, Honourable Jomo Sibia. I just want to acknowledge the presence of the leadership of organised labour. We appreciate your being here. The captains of industry, organized business, we love your presence. I just want to also acknowledge the presence of all the guests, invitees, and everyone that is online. And last but certainly not least, I want to acknowledge my fellow FEM board members. It's nice to see all of you. Program Director, I just want to indicate that a signature is a very important thing. It binds, it loosens. So what we're seeing before us, it's fine. What we're seeing before us are signatures. If you, like me, and you work in a very highly bureaucratic environment, there are those signatures that you call 1,000 rands, million signatures, and when you get it, you know, it has unlocked a lot of things. So it's not just a symbolic a means of showing commitment. It's really has got to be something that is meaningful, and we believe that it's something that is going to bring a difference, not only to us, but to the whole country and the community of workers in particular. I'm just going to give a very brief summary of what is on our strategy. OHS strategy 2024-2029. The first thing that we've been emphasizing is that we are subscribers to the whole Vision Zero ideal. We believe that it is something that is achievable. It may look challenging, but we believe that it's achievable. We also believe that the road to Vision Zero is not going to be an easy one. It's going to have slopes. It certainly is going to have some curves. Sometimes it will go upwards. There could be some road potholes along the way. And sometimes we'll hit dead ends. But it won't mean the world has ended. It will only mean that we've got to stop, refocus, and continue the journey. Pick ourselves up and continue the journey. Giving up is never an option, especially where lives of individuals are concerned. The strategy is going to focus and guide us for the next 5 years. That's the timeline that we've given ourselves. The labor market is a continuously ever-evolving type of environment. So we've got to keep up with the times. So we can't have a strategy that's going to overstay its welcome in terms of time frames. It also supports the entire strategy of the branch inspections and enforcement services. We are eternally indebted to the ILO director and your team. We really want to thank you. You played a pivotal role in ensuring that we finalize our strategy, and it is, I promise, it's a quality-oriented one. So for that, we are grateful. As the department, and we learn from our political principles, we've got to value partnerships, especially partnerships where billionaires are involved. The strategy is prevention-based. The old adage, prevention is better than cure. Prevention is actually also cheaper than cure. So we've got to continuously chase that. We've got a vision in the strategy. We strive for a labor market which is conducive for every worker to work in a healthy and safe working environment. Sometimes we underplay the extent to which injuries, fatalities, and all of those have gone, not just on the victims themselves, but their next of kin, and certainly to the communities and the economic outlook of the country. So it's something that we really have got to think about. It's got to be second nature. I always say issues of health and safety should be like second nature. When you wake up in the morning, taking a shower, if you travel like us, you know, each morning you've got to ask yourself, where am I? Am I at home, or which hotel am I at? Then when you wake up, you do a whole risk assessment that, you know, especially those showers that are in the bath. Oh, I dislike those ones. You've got to navigate. That's risk assessment. You are managing risk, you are assessing, you are rating your risk, and every step must just be measured. So health and safety is really, we live it without even realizing this. But in here we're just saying, let's take those basic experiences and thoughts to the next level. Our vision in the document is saying we want to ensure effective compliance and collaboration to ensure healthier and safer workplaces where people go as fully bodied, enabled individuals, and they go back home healthier. We shouldn't send people to early graves. We've got to make it our business that people are protected. Our strategy is big on being client-centered in terms of our approach. We support and promote a healthy, safe, and productive and quality lives. Bulala spoke about prevention and the prevention approaches. We also say that treatment without prevention is simply unsustainable. Those are the words that Bill Gates uttered. We do subscribe to words of that nature. Our strategy has got about 5 objectives. Thanks to the RMA, to FEM, the acting commissioner was complaining, compensation fund, that she's not being mentioned. But I was saying to her, when you say department, also part thereof. The 5 objectives are in this banner here, just next to me. This banner here next to me, this smaller one. Oh, it's been flighted as well. We've got to have policies that will enable us to be coherent in our approach. And there's no replacement for a legislative framework that is going to assist us to move forward. We know we don't live in an ideal world, and that is why policies, legislation, regulations, and all those get reviewed from time to time. And a case in point will be the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which in its current form predates democracy, but we are in the process of reviewing it. It's at a very advanced stage, and I think it was the program director that mentioned that we know that it's going to be promulgated during the civil administration. It's just a matter of time. The second point talks to advocacy. I believe that when we make enough noise, it will become a crescendo. And when that happens, people around us are going to listen. We should never stop conversing. We should always continuously, conscientiously, DM, I had to mention that word, conscientiously. Got it right. Conscientiously make sure that we invest in capacity building, both internally as well as externally. Our inspectors have got to be on par, and I can promise you, one of our OHS inspectors are qualified engineers in all fields, and we've got a very capable team of inspectors. But even with that capability, we still depend on the greater community of the occupational health and safety family. We'd like to move gradually to a point where we embrace what the ILO calls strategic compliance. So strategic compliance will mean that there's voluntary compliance. It's going to take a shifting of mindsets. It's going to take a changing of behavior. It's going to take a whole lot of effort for us to come to a point where complying will be like second nature. And will be, therefore, when that happens, our inspectors are going to be playing the role that they were fundamentally meant to play, which is advisory, and just make sure that where there is a deficit in terms of compliance, they enhance that space. But as things stand currently, the culture of non-compliance is very, very pervasive. And our inspectors are stretched to the limits, so we depend on everyone. We'd like to come to a point where we incentivize compliance. We're looking forward to a time when we'll name and praise workplaces that are shining, rather than just naming and shaming. So we do want to dangle that carrot. We're not trigger happy. We're not all about the stick, but we want to also say where there's good work that is being done, it needs to be recognized as such. The fourth point talks about viable risk management, viable risk management system. It's a very, very important start. A workplace that doesn't have a risk assessment doesn't take itself seriously. We had a construction workshop in the past 2 days. It was mentioned that there are companies that literally go out and buy a file of risk assessment, and they don't even open it. When the inspector goes to the workplace to inspect, the inspector will find that the name and the branding and everything doesn't even belong to that company. Because whoever will be selling that file will just be selling a generic tool. So that's a very important start, a very viable risk assessment. The fifth point is talking about the value of information. It can be argued that proper planning and proper moving forward is almost always informed by evidence, research, statistics, and all those. So we're saying we value that as well. Slide number 8, we're just emphasizing on the stakeholders that you work with. There's a whole list that you put there. That list is certainly not exhaustive, but we believe that you've captured most of the stakeholders. Slide number 9 is just saying in terms of our strategy, the proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating. So we do need to have this very strong mechanism of making sure that there's monitoring and evaluation. We do have governance structures in place, and on several occasions, it was mentioned that we've got ACOS members here. Their role, amongst others, is to make sure that those strategies that you put in place don't end up being just on glossy papers but we've got to implement them. As I conclude, I want to say that the golden thread of everything that we have spoken about is around collaboration. Michael Jordan said that talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. Thank you so much to everyone, and particularly our support, our funders, and blessers.
Thank you to the Inspector General. That was the last presentation for the day. We said it's a breakfast session. That is why we need to make sure that we end before it is lunchtime. And I would like to just indicate that we have made copies of our strategy, which we're launching today. So we are going to give copies to the social partners that have signed. You can just come forward and receive it. We could not give it to you earlier because we wanted the Inspector General to speak to it. So the social partners that signed, can you just come forward and receive a copy of the strategy that you are going to ensure that we keep each other accountable. We're making you come forward a lot today because we're making sure that you are seen, so that over the next 5 years, when we do our monitoring and our evaluation, we know who was there. You will be in the pictures. So you can just come forward and receive the strategy. So the Deputy Minister will be coming forward to hand over the strategy that we are going to implement together. So the social partners that signed, come forward. Thank you. That is for Naftu. Have you taken a picture? So I'm going to call upon Fadusa now. Okay, I'm going to call upon Kusatu. Okay, I am now Saftu DM requested to be excused. I've already given them a copy. They had to leave. So I'm going to call upon Busa to receive a copy of the strategy. I'm going to call upon the Black Business Council to receive a copy of the strategy. It might be out. DM, what I would like to indicate, we also are going to call. This is from the Black Business Council. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Last but not the least, we have to give a copy to the director of the ILO. The ILO has played a very, very critical role in ensuring that this strategy is finalized. They've provided technical support. So thank you. Can we give a round of applause? Thank you, Jay. Everybody can receive a copy of the strategy. We look forward to working together with you. There's just something that I believe is very important to do. We need to give also credit to where credit is due. I am going to give one of the bags to the former chief inspector that retired, just to say thank you for his role that he's also played. So Mr. Tikozana, he played a very important role. There is a gift also for you, just as a token of appreciation. Okay, he's not here, but let's just give him a round of applause. He was really funny. So we'll make sure that he gets just a gift, just to say thank you. He has retired, but he has also played a significant role in the finalization of the strategy. Also, I'm going to call upon the acting chief director just to give a gift to the ILO, just as a token of appreciation for the effort that you have done. So there was 2 special gifts that we wanted to give last to the people that put in the effort. So, director from ILO, you can just step forward just to say thank you. And also, we're looking forward to further support that you've provided. They have provided support by appointing consultants to assist us in the drafting of the status of OHS in the whole country, not only for the Department of Employment and Labor, also the mining area, all the compensation competencies. So we are taking the lead as the Department of Employment and Labor with the strategy. Hopefully, we will have a strategy for the whole country where the other government departments follow suit, because we are the leaders when it comes to occupational health and safety. That was the last item on the agenda. As the chairperson for today, also the person that is going to have to take off my heels and put on my overalls, roll up my sleeves, with the advisory council that will be appointed, my team of senior specialists, Mr. Mapaha, Mr. Palazzi, Ms. Huna, and the rest of their specialist teams. Also, we have here the provincial chief inspectors, as well as the OHS specialists from all 9 provinces. We also have COIDA auditors here that enforces COIDA, as well as statutory services from COIDA. We are going to roll up our sleeves to make sure that 5 strategic objectives are achieved over the next 5 years. I thank you. The session is closed. So the breakfast, it's a bit of a lunch breakfast. We will be served in the restaurant. We do have ladies that will indicate towards your left. In the briefing room, we will accommodate the signatories as well as the acting director for statutory and the